The Monsters by Lord RazorSlik. Some people will say that the children are the most precious things in the world, more precious than any treasure. Their future, their legacy. To some people, having a child of their own is their greatest achievement. To raise them and show them their way in the world. Oh, to hear the sound of a child's laughter. Stop their childish antics, to love and nurture them. To some other people, however, children are way too much work. A mouth to feed, a nuisance, very messy and very expensive. Everyone has their own reasons to have or not to have children. Some people would do anything to have a child of their own. Our story focuses on a young couple. They had been married for 3 years, and one of their goals was to raise a family of their own, start making memories of family holidays, outings, telling stories, playing with them. Sadly, however, due to complications, the woman was not able to bear a child. So they applied for adoption. The waiting list was long, but they had not given up hope. They understood how the adoption process worked, and they were patient. But the waiting kept on going. The days turned into weeks, the weeks turned into months, and the months turned into years. Their hearts sank, but they still held on to that tiny thread of hope. And maybe one day, just one day, the big day would come. To help put their minds at ease, the couple took a trip out to the moors, where they booked a cottage for a week. The fresh countryside air would help clear their minds. Their cottage was just outside a small town in the heart of a county, known for its national parks, the moors and forests. It was perfect for getting away from the city. You could visit the local towns, lose yourself in the rolling hills of the moors, explore the vast forests of the national parks. So, the couple set out one day for a walk into one of the forest parks. You could choose 3 different routes and walk for hours. The couple made their way down one trail, down an avenue of pine trees towering high above them. The air smelt fresh, so fresh it felt like your lungs were being cleaned out. The sounds of the trees rustling in the breeze, the echoes of the birds singing from all directions, the gentle chimes of the running water moving down the stream. Such sounds like these is like a whole new world, much different from the bustle and hustle of the city. As the couple continued hiking late into the afternoon, evening was looming closer. As the couple continued hiking, they came to a clearing on the side of a trail. It looked like an open patch of land, and in the middle, surrounded by the trees, was a house. A tall and narrow house. The couple stared at the house with much curiosity. The narrow house stood tall, 3 floors up, built out of bricks. the windows dark and empty. It looked like it was built for one of those architect programs where ambitious people want to design and build their own dream home. But the house looked as if no one had lived in it for many years. From outside it looked empty, neglected, devoid of life. The couple were just about to make tracks again when they heard a noise, a baby's cry. "Did you hear that?" asked the woman to her husband. "Yes, I believe I heard it too," said the man. "It sounds like a baby's cry," said the woman, looking up at the tall, dark house. She started walking up to the house. Her husband followed her. Then up to the porch, the old wooden boards creaking and sinking slightly under their weight. They opened the front door with some difficulty due to years of rust on the hinges. Dust seeped out into the open. The couple stepped into the house, their eyes adjusting to the gloom. They pulled out a torch which they brought with them, just in case it ever got too dark to navigate through the forest. Years of dust and cobwebs had conquered the house's interior. Grime settled into the glass panes of the windows. The furniture aged and decayed. Wallpapers peeling. The couple heard the baby's cry again and followed it to the heart of the room they stepped in. In a basket, wrapped in blankets, was a... "Oh my goodness, it's a baby," said the woman in a worried voice. "Someone must have abandoned it here." The couple kneeled down to look into the basket. The baby cried, but not as loud. It sounded like it was frightened. "Who on earth could abandon a baby like this?" "I don't know, honey, but we can't just leave it here." "Dear, do you think we could take it home with us?" said the woman to her husband, a look of hope returning into her eyes. "Well, we can't just leave it here, I mean," he said as he looked at his wife with uncertainty. "Dear, we talked about how much we wanted to start a family. This could be our chance. A child of our own," she said, her heart filling with more and more hope. A smile curled in her husband's face. They looked at each other, and then at the baby, all wrapped up in ragged blankets. "Come here, you poor little thing. We're going to take you home with us." And so the couple brought the baby out of the dark house, into their arms, and to a new home. For weeks now, the couple raised the baby as their own. But it was hard work. The baby had been crying ever since they brought it home. Everyone knew that a baby was a lot of work, but the couple weren't going to give up. The baby cried and cried, like it was protesting about something. The couple tried comforting it, feeding it, playing with it, but the baby wailed and wailed. Oh, there were times where the baby had calmed down, but any time the couple wanted to give it some love, the baby cried out. Days continued to pass. There were some nights where things had seemed to settle down. Then the baby would cry in the dead of night, with either the man or the woman rushing into the baby's room to help comfort it. The couple were getting exhausted. Not letting fatigue get the better of them, the couple continued to nurture their new baby. One night, tired and exhausted, it seemed that the baby had finally calmed down for the night. The couple took the baby to its cot and laid it down to sleep peacefully. The couple returned to their room for a well-earned rest. The couple nestled into their bed, sinking into their soft mattress, tucking themselves into their warm quilts, and sank into a deep sleep. Hours later into the night, the baby started to stir. It turned in its blankets and started to cry softly. The cries were interrupted when out of the darkness a ghost-like creature loomed out from within. It was tall, had a hood hiding its face. It wore a ragged robe which floated in the air silently. At the end of its long and ragged sleeves were long claws. The phantom glided across the room and peered down into the baby's cot. The visage did not disturb the baby. It giggled at the sight of the phantom. The phantom did not attack the baby. It gazed silently into the cot at the bundle of blankets with the baby inside. The phantom then started to play with the baby, carefully lifting the baby out of its cot and played with its toys. They played together late into the night. The baby's giggles suddenly reached the ears of the husband in the next room. Hearing the footsteps on the landing, the phantom lifted the baby back up quickly, placed it into the cot, tucked it in, and vanished into the darkness. The husband quietly opened the door to peer inside to check on the baby. The baby snoozed quietly in his cot, and not wanting to disturb it, the husband closed the door quietly. The baby had settled down a bit in its new home. The couple were able to feed, nurture, and play with it. The baby had its protests from time to time, but it seemed that things were getting easier now for the couple and for the baby. The phantom from the other night was silently watching over the baby from outside the eyes of the couple. Wherever the baby saw the phantom, it didn't cry as much. It was more peaceful. The couple was not sure why the baby became more peaceful, for they could not see this apparition from its hiding place, and felt that their hard work was paying off. Another day passed, and after a nice dinner and a quick playtime, the couple laid their new baby into the cot. The couple left the room to retire to their own bed. As all the lights in the house were turned off, the phantom had emerged out of the darkness to check on the baby nestled in its cot. its clawed hand reaching down for it and rubbed the baby's forehead gently. The phantom watched over the cot. The baby started to stir. Then it cried for some attention. Hurried footsteps rushed across the landing, and the couple entered the baby's room to check on it. But that's when they finally saw the phantom towering above the cot. Startled, frightened by this visage, they were about to scream in terror, but that scream of terror was silenced instantly as the phantom raised its long claws up and down on the couple. Their flesh ripped open, and their blood sprayed and stained all over the room. Flesh torn, ripped, the bodies mutilated, and their blood pooled on the floor. When the phantom finished its grisly deed, it turned to the baby in the cot, reaching its clawed hand down to the baby. "Don't worry. I won't let the monsters take you away from me ever again." The baby raised its clawed hand and held the phantom's. The phantom picked up and cradled the baby, and they disappeared into the night. When the police arrived at the house, after the neighbors were concerned for not seeing the couple for some time, they entered their home to find the grisly scene. After an investigation, they couldn't come to a solid conclusion. They couldn't decide on foul play, as there was no sign of a break-in or a weapon. Rumors started to spread. They say that the couple sank into depression from not having a child of their own, and that depression turned into madness, and they attacked each other. But no one would ever guess that a phantom murdered them. Their deaths remained a mystery. As for the phantom and its baby, they returned to their home, the tall, dark, and narrow house in the forest, where they remained. Passers-by will sometimes hear a baby's cry, but that was enough to drive anyone away from that place, except for any other possible intruders. And we all know what becomes of them.